Girl, your hair's so nappy, Wilson couldn't pick it. See, a year ago, I'd have body slammed you. All right?
But Martin, unfortunately, you know, show business at a certain point in his life got the best of him. Network has a lot to do with that as well. You know, they take care of the star, then everybody else is a piece of shit. That's just how it goes down. And you know, you embrace being a piece of shit.
Tichina Arnold, who played Pam, recently spoke up at the age of 55. She finally confirmed some of the awful rumors that have been going around for years about the Martin show.
Martin, unfortunately, you know, show business at a certain point in his life got the best of him. And when that happens, you see it happening, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Why did it take so long for her to share the truth? What were the rumors about? And how did they affect her and the show? Let's dive into Tichina's story and what really happened behind the scenes.
Truth, okay? No, Gina, the truth is you're being influenced by inch-high private eye. Ah!
The 1990 sitcom Martin was one of the funniest shows on TV. It aired for 5 seasons, from 1992 to 1997, and starred Martin Lawrence as the lead character. The cast included Tichina Arnold, Tisha Campbell, Carl Anthony Payne II, and Thomas McCall Ford. Fans loved the show's humor.
Oh my goodness. If it isn't Little Miss Attitude. What?
But things behind the scenes weren't as happy as they seemed. Recently, Arnold shared her thoughts about the problems on the set of Martin and how those issues might have caused the show to end. "We had something amazing on Martin," Arnold said. "We came to work to laugh every day. Martin's comedy was brilliant. It was contagious."
And who are you, Martin?
I don't know, but he must be somebody real important because they made a statue of him.
But things didn't stay happy. Arnold explained that as Martin Lawrence became more famous, the way the show worked began to change. Martin wasn't just part of the cast anymore. He was the executive producer, and that created distance between him and the rest of us. The network focused on him because he was the star. The rest of us didn't matter as much, she said.
Network has a lot to do with that as well. You know, they take care of the star, then everybody else is a piece of shit. That's just how it goes down. And you know, you embrace being a piece of shit.
She also pointed out that the pressures of being in show business seemed to take a toll on Martin Lawrence. "Show business got the best of him," Arnold shared. "It's like watching a car crash you can't stop. You see it happening and all you can do is pray for that person." A tragic event happened to him which gave everyone a big scare. This happened in Los Angeles. He was seen wandering in the middle of a busy street in Sherman Oaks. Witnesses say he was yelling and acting like a madman. Police quickly arrived and found Lawrence in the middle of the road. He had a loaded handgun in his pocket, which made the situation even more serious. He was shouting things like, "Fight the power," and using some strong language. One witness, Aaron Berg, told a local news channel, "I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's Martin Lawrence." He was yelling and fighting with the police. It was crazy to see. The police managed to get Lawrence off the street and took him to Sherman Oaks Hospital for evaluation. After that, he was sent to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where he was admitted for treatment. At first, police said that Lawrence had not been taking some medication he was prescribed, which may have caused a seizure. Later, his doctor, William Young from Cedars-Sinai, said Lawrence was suffering from extreme exhaustion and dehydration. The hospital's spokesperson, Ron Wise, confirmed that Lawrence was in fair condition but said he didn't know anything about the medication claims. As police prepared to take him off the street, Lawrence reportedly joked, "I always told everybody they'd be coming for me someday." Authorities are now looking into whether Lawrence's handgun was legally registered. If not, he could face charges for carrying a concealed weapon. This raised concerns about Lawrence's health and well-being then. Fans were hoping he takes the time he needs to recover. 3 months after a troubling incident, Lawrence found himself in the spotlight again. This time it happened at Burbank Airport. He was trying to board a plane to Phoenix while carrying a loaded 9mm Beretta pistol. Lawrence told the police he thought it was okay to bring guns on interstate flights. Surprisingly, no charges were filed against him for this incident.
I said, Mama used to say, take your time, young man.
One of the biggest moments of drama was when Tisha Campbell, who played Gina, left the show. Campbell's exit was surrounded by controversy. She accused Martin Lawrence of inappropriate behavior, and their relationship on and off screen fell apart. But what most people don't know is that Tisha and Lawrence had a bond even before the show Martin started. Tisha recently opened up about their friendship and how Martin promised her a big role in his future projects. Before Martin aired, both were already working together. They starred in movies like House Party and Boomerang. During an interview, Tisha shared how Martin told her he wanted her to play his wife or girlfriend someday. She didn't take him seriously at the time, thinking he was just being nice, but Martin kept his word.
I love you.
Tisha explained how she used to hang out at comedy clubs, watching stand-up comics of Martin Lawrence and Tommy Davidson. Over time, they all became friends. She recalled seeing Martin at the Boomerang premiere, where he sat next to Diana Ross. That's when Martin told her about his plans. He said, "Whatever I'm going to do, it's either a movie or a series. I want you to play my wife or girlfriend." Tisha thought it was just talk, but soon after, Martin made it happen. However, things didn't end well for the show. During its 5th season, Tisha left the show, saying the work environment was unbearable. Arnold said she understood why Campbell left and that it was something Campbell had to do. Before Tisha's announcement, she had walked off the set in November and refused to return. The show's production company tried to force her to come back by filing a legal order. Campbell fought back by suing them. She said she had experienced sexual harassment and sexual battery.
But Martin, unfortunately, show business at a certain point in his life got the best of him. And when that happens, you see it happening, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Both sides later settled the case privately. After that, Campbell and Martin Lawrence, the show's star, were able to work together long enough to finish the final episodes. The show ended in May of that year.
I love you.
Lawrence claimed that the show ended because he chose to end it, not because of any other issues. In a 2020 interview, he called the idea that his behavior led to the show's cancellation BS. He explained, "I just decided to leave the show." Campbell was later asked about Lawrence's comments. She said she couldn't say much because of a confidentiality agreement. However, she hinted that Lawrence's version of events wasn't entirely accurate. "I was actually kind of shocked," Campbell said. Many debated who was to blame for the end of Martin. Some fans believed that Martin Lawrence's growing ego played a big role. One Instagram user commented, "When the intro of Martin changed to him having a huge head and saying, 'I'm the man,' we all knew he was feeling himself too much." Another person shared online, "His co-stars should not have been treated that way. Yes, he was the star, but all the characters brought so much to the show. The network should have done better." On the other hand, a fan of Martin defended him, saying, "Martin is our dude. Y'all need to let that old stuff go. I still watch Martin. Stay blessed." Arnold's comments also shed light on the tough realities of working in Hollywood. She mentioned how networks often focus on the lead star, leaving the rest of the cast feeling unimportant. Despite the drama, Arnold said she still looks back on Martin with fondness and appreciates the laughs they shared on set. Fast forward to 2022, the cast reunited for Martin. The reunion on BET. Tisha Campbell, Martin Lawrence, Tichina Arnold, Pam, and Carl Anthony Payne, Cole, came together to celebrate the show. It was a moment of healing for everyone. In an interview, Lawrence said, "I love Tisha. I've always had nothing but love for her." He also shared a sweet message on Instagram, saying they were good and always would be. When asked about their reunion during a 2022 interview with Gayle King, Campbell said, "We worked hard to reconnect and forgive. This reunion is a celebration of everything we accomplished and our growth as people."
Let's heal. Let's keep in touch. Let's not let all this time go by.
Because of this, she decided to leave the show. Her character, Gina, was written out by saying she was out on business. Fans were surprised and sad to see her gone, especially since the show was so popular. Leaving Martin was not an easy choice for Tisha. The lawsuit and all the drama that came with it put her in the public eye, and people had a lot of opinions. This made it harder for her to find new acting jobs. Some people in the entertainment industry didn't want to take risks by hiring her because of the controversy. For a while, her career slowed down, and she faced many challenges. Tisha didn't let this stop her, though. Over time, she worked hard to rebuild her career. She appeared in other TV shows and movies like My Wife and Kids, where she played a loving mom and wife. Fans loved seeing her again and appreciated her talent.
Last night, I had a dream that your father had a
Did you know that Martin Lawrence didn't always follow the script on his show Martin? While the show's writers had planned scripts, Martin liked to do things his own way. This caused some disagreements between him and the writers. They didn't always agree on how the show should go or what direction it should take, but Martin's approach gave the show a unique style that fans loved. Tichina shared a funny story about Martin's way of working. In an interview with BuzzFeed, she said Martin often ignored the script and made up his own lines. The first time he did it, the cast realized this was going to be normal for the rest of the show. His creativity made the show funnier and added a special charm that set it apart from other sitcoms. Martin's improvisation wasn't just funny for the viewers, it was hilarious for the cast too. His unscripted jokes were so good that the other actors had a hard time staying in character. They tried their best not to laugh, but it was nearly impossible. In fact, the cast turned it into a game. They wanted to see who could keep a straight face the longest. Thomas McCall Ford, who played Tommy, usually lost because Martin's jokes were just too much to handle.
By the way, that show had like some of the funniest catchphrases.
It did.
That we now have part of our vernacular.
Is that
I
crazy?
still say, talk to the hand because the face don't want to hear it.
Right. Nobody remembers that it actually came from us. And when they...
Many of Martin's improvised lines became famous catchphrases. They weren't just funny, they became part of everyday language, especially for young fans. Even today, some of them are still used, showing how much of an impact the show had on pop culture. One of the most famous catchphrases is, "Talk to the hand." It was a funny way of saying, "I don't want to hear it." Then there's "You go, girl," which became a way to cheer someone on. People used it to show support and excitement. Another favorite was, "Get to steppin'." Martin would say this when he wanted someone to leave, and fans loved repeating it. Even years later, Martin Lawrence said people still shout his show's catchphrases at him. On The Tonight Show, he shared that the phrases he hears the most are "Wise up" and "You go, boy." "Wise up" was so popular it even showed up in Budweiser commercials and the movie Scary Movie. It's clear that these lines stuck with people and became part of everyday talk.
Who's people, Martin? That's not coming from you.
But sadly, Martin ended after its 5th season in 1997. The reason? A mix of personal problems, conflicts among the cast, and falling viewership. Let's look at what happened behind the scenes. One of the main issues on the show involved Martin Lawrence, who played the lead role of Martin Payne. Martin had problems with some of his male co-stars, including Carl Payne, who played Cole.
Hey, Tommy, man, why don't you pass brother one of them tater skins? Oh, sure, bro.
In an interview, Carl shared that things started out fine between him and Martin, but as time passed, Martin began treating Carl poorly. Carl didn't go into full detail, but he made it clear that working with Martin became difficult. Carl thought Martin might have been dealing with personal issues at that time, which could explain his actions. Still, Carl kept his cool and stayed professional. He only stood up for himself when he felt disrespected.
I seen the picture with you two together. Was that the first time y'all seen each other in years?
Absolutely. And like literally 20-something years. Literally. Yeah.
Carl mentioned that working on the show felt like being part of a family. Families sometimes fight, but they also have good times together. Carl enjoyed many moments on the set, but he made it clear that most of the issues came from Martin. Despite the tension, Carl didn't have anything against Martin personally. Years later, when the cast reunited for Martin, the reunion, Martin and Carl finally talked about their problems. They were able to forgive each other and move on. Fans of the show loved the chemistry between the cast, but now we know it wasn't always smooth behind the scenes. It's nice to hear that Carl and Martin were able to put the past behind them. But Carl wasn't the only one who had trouble with Martin. Garret Morris, who played Stan Winters, also had a tough time on the show.
Use people, Martin. That's not coming from you. That's woman.
While working on Martin, Garret was struggling with personal problems, including addiction. Things took a terrible turn toward the end of season 2. Garret was walking to his car in Los Angeles when 2 men attacked him. Garret, being a black belt in martial arts, fought back and kicked one of the attackers. This angered the man and he pulled out a gun. Garret was shot in the chest and arm. He was rushed to the hospital and slipped into a coma.
And he had a gun like that. And I said, excuse me, and he shoots me and goes in there, messes up my intestines. I had to have a colostomy for like 8 months.
During his recovery, Garret got the show's script and saw that his character, Stan, had been written out. The story had Stan selling his radio station and leaving town. Garret filmed a scene from his hospital bed to explain his character's exit. Later, he learned that the show had fired him. When Garret asked if he was being let go, the answer was yes.
That's when the person who was producing Martin decided to fire me while I was actually in the hospital itself.
Garret's recovery was difficult. One of his gunshot wounds got infected, and he had to go through more surgeries. He also had to wear a colostomy bag for 8 months and spent a year in a wheelchair. This was a tough time for Garret, and he fell into depression. But he eventually decided to focus on what made him happy and tried to move forward. Garret returned for one episode in season 3, where Stan opened a restaurant with Martin. After that, Stan was never seen again on the show. Garret later spoke about his firing and said he believed Martin, who was a co-executive producer, was the one who let him go. Garret also claimed Martin spread stories about visiting him in the hospital, which Garret said never happened. The drama behind the scenes of Martin played a big part in the show's cancellation. Despite the conflicts, it's clear that some of the cast members, like Carl and Martin, were able to make peace years later. However, the tensions on set were hard to ignore, and they contributed to the show's end after its 5th season.
And Martin had a stroke. He almost died. And then after that, I saw him, and I was like, oh my God, Martin, are you okay? And he said, I got the best sleep I ever got in my life. That's how tough he is.
Martin faced some serious health problems that affected his career. These health issues were not only a concern for him, but also for those working with him. His weight changes and constant exhaustion made people worry, as it seemed to be affecting his performance on set. He was facing a lot of personal challenges behind the scenes. The pressure of being famous was tough for him, and he started using marijuana to cope with the stress. People noticed his behavior was changing, and there was public talk about his struggles. One of the most scary moments in Martin's life came in August 1999. At the time, his career was going strong and he was preparing for a new movie role. He wanted to lose some weight to look better for the role, so he decided to try jogging. Unfortunately, he made a dangerous choice. On a hot summer day, he wore multiple layers of clothing under a nylon jogging suit, thinking it would help him sweat out the weight. But the heat was just too much. As he ran, his body temperature rose to dangerous levels and he collapsed from heat stroke. Martin was rushed to the hospital where doctors found that his body temperature had reached 107 degrees. They quickly put him on a respirator to help him breathe. The situation was critical and he fell into a coma. Doctors were worried, but after 3 days, Martin woke up. He was lucky to survive this life-threatening situation, and his recovery was a relief to everyone. This scary experience changed Martin's outlook on life. In an interview in 2002, he shared how he felt during the coma. He said, "I felt like in the coma, God laid me down and woke me up to be able to see a lot more clearly, and it's humbled me a great deal." He realized that life was precious, and the experience taught him to appreciate everything more. Years later, Martin humorously talked about his heat stroke incident. During an appearance on Conan, he jokingly said, "So please, I recommend do not run in a plastic suit. I picked the hottest day of the summer, and next thing I know I was sleeping on the ground. Though he laughed about it, it was clear that this scary experience had a big impact on him. Lawrence's health scare was a wake-up call for him. It showed him that his career and fame were not as important as his health. After the heat stroke, he took time to focus on his well-being and learn to take care of himself better.
Martin Lawrence is the guy that showed everybody you can make it from D.C. to Hollywood. And I had a personal stake in his success. Every time he did something, it made me feel inspired and really good. And he was always real nice.
When it ended, the cast members went on to do different things, and many had successful careers in TV and movies. It also gave rising stars in comedy and music a chance to shine. For example, rapper Snoop Dogg made his first ever TV appearance on Martin. Even though Snoop admitted he was a little nervous, he nailed his role by just being himself. Lawrence created a space where guest stars didn't have to act differently or pretend. They could relax and have fun. Snoop later said in an interview that he appreciated how Martin gave artists a chance to show their real personalities.
It's the D-O-double-G, 'cause that be me.
Another star who got a boost from Martin was Tracy Morgan. Before he became a household name on Saturday Night Live, Morgan appeared on Martin as Hustle Man, a funny character known for selling random stuff. Martin Lawrence saw Tracy's potential and gave him a shot. It paid off, as Tracy was a natural on set, making everyone laugh with his quick thinking and great delivery. In a heartfelt interview, Tracy Morgan spoke about how much the opportunity meant to him. He said, "Martin let me eat at his table." He explained that Martin didn't put him on the show just because they were friends. He did it because he believed Tracy was funny. That chance changed Tracy's life and career forever, and he remains grateful to Martin for giving him a start. Let's take a look at what the cast of Martin has been up to since the show ended. For Martin, after the show ended, he landed big movie roles. He appeared in a comedy movie called Life alongside Eddie Murphy. He then went on to star in movies like Blue Streak, Big Mama's House, and Black Knight. Martin's success on the show helped him build a successful movie career, and he continued making people laugh in films for years after Martin ended. Carl Anthony Payne II, who played Martin's best friend Cole Brown, went on to work in TV and film as well. He continued to act in sitcoms and movies, including The Game and House of Pain. Carl also did voice acting, lending his voice to animated shows like The Boondocks. He stayed connected with his fans and was known for his funny and lovable roles, just like Cole on Martin. Lastly, the talented actor Thomas McCall Ford, who played Martin's other best friend Tommy Strawn, had a long career in TV and movies after Martin. He appeared in other shows like New York Undercover and movies such as The Washing Machine. Sadly, Thomas passed away in 2016, but his legacy continues to live on through his work in entertainment.